Buenos días a todos, un saludo, espero que estén todos muy bien. Ya se va incorporando todo el mundo a la sesión. Como siempre que iniciamos un bloque de cursos en Westfield, tenemos la oportunidad de poder invitar a speakers, expertos en distintos temas que nos pueden hablar de cuestiones muy interesantes. Hoy tenemos la fortuna de tener con nosotros a Cecilia Floridi. Y bueno, voy a dar el paso a Rafael de Cárdenas. Rafa, bienvenido, para que pueda presentar a nuestra ponente y pueda iniciar la sesión. Adelante, Rafa.
Magnífico. Muchísimas gracias a todos por estar aquí. Y voy a pasar al inglés, porque nuestra ponente va a hacer la sesión en inglés y así somos cordiales y educados con ella y podemos seguir la sesión con ella en inglés. Tenéis creo que el botón de interpretación, si no me equivoco, para los que queráis seguir la sesión en español o prefiráis seguirla en inglés, que es en lo que lo va a hacer Cecilia. De nuevo, muchas gracias, bienvenidos y paso al inglés. Cecilia, thank you for being here. It's truly a pleasure and an honor for us that you are going to spend these 60 minutes with us. And let me just say briefly a few things about you because students know about you. But I would like to highlight a few aspects. Cecilia is an expert in something that in this current moment in life, it's paramount in our opinion, and is exactly how to use data analytics, big data, and information in order to manage customer equity and also loyalty from our customers. And in that regard, how to engage our customers with us and using data analytics and big data. Normally, this is an aspect that is more addressed from the IT side or the technology side, which is actually how you manage those databases and that data mining information. But actually, how to turn that into something that can drive growth for us, commitment from our customers, and in the end, sustainable profits over time is something that is what Cecilia brings to the equation. And I think it's truly unique and really paramount. Cecilia is Italian, but also German, and now is in Düsseldorf, but has worked in many different companies and many different sectors, industries. And I think you know that this information. So I think it's really interesting because we all come from different industries. You all come from different industries and companies. And the experience she's going to put into the presentation today is pretty much related to all kind of, and also the examples she's gonna highlight are connected to many different industries. So I think you are going to relate pretty much to what she's going to say. Also, let me tell you that Cecilia is an amazing human being. I had the pleasure to engage with her also while preparing this session and before through friends, common friends. And it's for us also very important that she lives our values and our motto, people, planet, profit. I truly believe, and I witness that Cecilia is everything, all these three things. She's people, she's planet, and she's profit as well, which is what we live here. Cecilia, thank you very much for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Rafa. Thank you, Ignacio. Thank you, the whole team at Westerfield Business School. I'm very excited to be with you, and I'm also very excited to share a couple of thoughts about how you can work with data and how you can, from data, create valuable customer insights, which will really make you grow. And so let's just jump in and directly talk about what is happening here. So as Rafa has said, I'm Cecilia, and I am the co-founder of Data Lab. And since, let's say, almost 13 years, we've been in the market, and our main concern is about our clients' customers with all their behavioral specifics They are at the heart of our business. And these clients of ours, they have between, let's say, the smallest probably has 300, 400,000 customers, and the largest had almost 500 million customers. And, you know, if you have 500 million customers, it is really difficult to make them happy because you need to understand the differences, you need to know them. So what do we do? One important aspect are loyalty concepts and programs, because often you do need these kind of programs to get to understand your customers, to get them to become members of something, to identify them, and to finally get to collect their data. So you are interested in their attributes. We talk about zero and first party data when they are your customers. And then you start analyzing the data. You want to turn the data into actionable insights. And this is extremely important. And this is one of the main topics for today. And once you have this data and you have the actionable insights, what do you use it for? Obviously, you use it for targeted and individual customer journeys, for example, products, promotions, communications, prices, etc., etc. So I'm sure you completely know your marketing piece. It's that, and it's also more than that. And once you have done all this, you see that you make it all measurable. So what are the KPIs? You want to achieve more sales, more margin, less churn. And so you increase your customer equity. And you can truly measure that your customers are staying longer and are buying more and are buying better and are happier with you. And so this is what we do. And we do it also using the data through collaborations and monetizing the data. So you see a couple of logos of the companies we are working for. So you can see that there are really various industries. Probably you know some of the companies because they are active internationally. And so we started very strongly in retail, and we went then working also in the financial services industry, in the energy industry, et cetera, in FMCG, etc. So that's a lot. And when you think about data, you will hear this sentence a lot. Data is the new oil. I hate it. I hate it because it's not true. So this is the thing, you know, if today I manage to convince you that it's not true, and also to convince you and to make transparent what the differences are, then we have already achieved something. So for me, it's true that businesses think that data is the new oil. And so in this case, I will tell you what happens when they think that. So of course, if you think it's the new oil, what will you do? You will start to drill like crazy, and you will try to extract heaps of data. The more, the better. And this is what you will do. And then you will start getting super worried about data storage, because you won't want to erase anything. You will want to keep everything, and it will become very, very heavy. So it will become expensive, it will become complicated, and it will become extremely environmentally unfriendly. And then you will start getting obsessed with purchasing tools. So you will have a priority, which is we need IT, we need tools, we have to work with this data, we have to put this data. And so you will go on a huge shopping tour, shopping for IT and IT infrastructure. And then probably you will come to us. This is what happens sometimes, and say, okay, now I did all this, I have all this, and what do I do with it? And so this is where you see that there is a flame and the money, and this is where you are burning a lot of money and wasting a lot of money. So my recommendation is, please don't do it this way. So if we say that data is not the new oil, can I prove it? And now I'm going to tell you why. So you have some of the key arguments to sustain the thesis that data is not the new oil. The most important ones are, okay, obviously data is non-depletable, so it's virtually inexhaustible. It can be generated endlessly as long as human interactions and digital activities continue. So that's a good thing. But on the other hand, also you need to be careful about how much of it and which kind of data you want to collect. Moreover, the same piece of data can be reused multiple times and also by different parties, which is one of the topics we will get into today. The most important issue is the value, which is context dependent. So the data only becomes valuable when it's processed, it's analyzed and interpreted. The raw data itself is useless unless you can derive meaning from it. So that's why we talk about actionable insights. Then you have obviously regulatory and ethical considerations. Data usage is subject to far more complex and evolving regulations, particularly concerning privacy and security. And then you have network effects. So data exhibits network effects where its value grows as more data is collected and interconnected. Data thrives on network effects, compounding its value over time. And also, it is very strongly connected to innovation because new applications for data are continually emerging. Data is decentralized and this is often owned or generated by individuals or by companies and systems globally. So furthermore, data can be shared, duplicated, processed by many entities simultaneously, creating different ownership models. And these ownership models is something we're going to jump into. Data's environmental impact is related on how we manage the digital infrastructure. So that's why if you start collecting like crazy, okay, then it becomes environmentally unfriendly. So you see that data is probably not the new oil, but data is an enabler of value creation, not merely a tradable commodity. So that's why we will see. So if you, let's say you come to Germany and you ask for a coffee and you're not alone, but your colleagues are with you. So look at all these nice ladies. They probably all work for the same company. They are in the same social demographic group and they're asking for a coffee. So they order a coffee and get a coffee. Okay, in Italy, you would never get this kind of thing. You would get an espresso. But anyway, this is what would happen in Germany. In reality, these people being more or less same age, same country, same company, same perhaps also, social demographics, they had different ideas in their head. If you look at the idea they had for a coffee, so Cecilia was thinking about a cappuccino, Maria was thinking about latte macchiato, etc., etc. So you see that the value of data, if you have this kind of information, it can depict the difference between people's needs, motives, and mindsets. So you can learn much more than only a coffee, right? So you see that people are highly different. If we go to the supermarket, and I love going to the supermarket, and we look at what is in the people's carts, then we start imagining who they are and how they live. You know that you can say, you are what you eat, right? So look at this supermarket cart. It's very nice. And all at once, you have an idea. And you say, okay, these are convenience shoppers. So they are consumers who prioritize speed and ease and simplicity when they purchase food and household items. So what do you see in this basket? You see ready meals. You see ready to eat and prepackaged foods. You see chilled and frozen foods, and you see snacks. So you assume that you know these people, and also you assume that their needs and their motives are very similar. Well, it's not that easy, unfortunately. So if you really look at convenience shoppers, and I have been working with quite a lot of supermarket chains, for example, you know that in this case, and it's a real case, convenience shoppers really, there are three different subsegments of this convenience shoppers group. So the first one, if you look at the left-hand side, we call them time poor, food rich. So they tend to be double income, no kids. They love a gourmet experience and they tend to eat out at restaurants a lot. They tend to shop at the supermarket like once a month, but then when they do, the price is really not an issue. They need products with longer shelf life and small quantities. The middle group, these are the moms on the run. So they tend to have more than one kid and they spend a lot of their time being taxi moms. They want to cook healthy meals for the family and need to be very efficient about it. They also need a constantly full pantry and freezer, and they purchase family sizes. They love deals and will be more careful with their budget than the first group. And then if you look at the right-hand side, you see the segment we called Fast and Furious. They also tend to be double income, no kids, singles, or even less affluent families. Their approach to food is very different to the first two groups. So they look for meals that are filling, do not have to be prepared, and are not necessarily healthy. So the alternative to the supermarket for them, or the discounter, will be a fast food restaurant. So if we drill even deeper and we look at their shopping cart, you can see on the left-hand side the time poor, food rich purchase, and on the right-hand side, the moms on the run. So if you look at them more carefully, you can see the differences. So the time poor, food rich, they buy fancy ready meals like the lazy vegan Italian risotto, while the moms on the runs, you see, they cook the hamburgers and use frozen or chilled veg like broccoli or green beans. Both purchase fish, but time poor, food rich likes smoked salmon for their Sunday brunch, while the moms need the 1 kilo frozen cod fillets. Here. If you compare the ham, time poor, food rich will go for jamon de bellota, 70 grams, while the moms will choose 500 grams cooked ham for the school sandwiches. And this is also funny, both buy Philadelphia cheese, but look, there is a huge difference between the tiny grissini snack and the family size. So you see that if you are the supermarket and you need to work with these segments and you need to understand these segments, if you stop at the higher level of the convenience shopper, you risk to make really bad mistakes. You risk to be incredibly irrelevant for them. And so they won't like you, they will go somewhere else. So we say that getting relevant is really your key to success when dealing with your customers. So that's why if you look at the diagram at the center, I have put a heart. That is the symbol for the obsession you need for your customers and their needs, their motives, and their desires. So how do you work with this? You start to think about which goal do I want to achieve with my insights, with my data. But first you really think, what do I need to know? And we saw with the example of the supermarket, we want to understand you via what you buy, right? And then you think, which data do I need to generate the insights? Well, I need the data about the purchases, but I know, for example, that ham is not the same as ham. So jamon de bellota will be a different category, as in luxury, etc., and international. Instead, the cooked ham will be more in the family segment. And then there needs to be an action because you want to make the insights actionable. So that's where you will start thinking, how do I talk to these people differently? How do I make different offers and deals to them? And then I always need to measure success. So what I will do is I will always trying to do some kind of A/B tests, or even usually we always isolate control groups. So some people get the communication, some people get a different communication, some people get no communication at all. And then we measure whether there was an uplift or not. And every time you have an action and you measure your success, you have learned something. And then you go and modify your goals and you start all over again. But I recommend create your data strategy. You cannot do that if you don't have a data strategy. So how do I create a data strategy? I will give you an example. So the value from data is highly context dependent. So imagine you are a DIY company. A DIY company is extremely complex. They can store between, the really small ones, 30,000 and something like 300,000 stock keeping units. And the needs which are in there are completely vary between, someone who is buying bricks to build a house, someone who buys food for the dog, someone who buys paints for handicrafts, etc., or green plants, it's completely different. So if I am the DIY, what do I want to know about my customers? I want to know, is he a professional builder or is he a hobby artisan? Is someone on a project, so for example, wants to redo the bathroom, or just searching for inspiration and bringing in the kids on a Saturday because it's a nice thing to do on a Saturday? I don't know, but I really want to know it. So it is really different. If you think of the supermarket, it's really different kind of data I need here. So in this case, we are going to meet this girl, Linda, who is 28, and she is a hobby artisan. She says she loves remodeling her own home. Just last month, she repainted her living room, and now she's restoring a couple of old wooden chairs that her grandfather gave her. So you understand more or less the kind of person she is. She says she has lots of house plants, so she buys them at the DIY, obviously. And she would love to have her own house with a big garden and children, but that will come in the future. So if you look at what the DIY ideally is storing, they want to know what kind of projects she is on. So you see on the left-hand side, she has painted the living room walls. So probably they know how much paint she needed, which kind of color she purchased, etc., so that if there is an accident, they know which color she had, and they can offer her to buy more. She is restoring the wooden chairs, and now for the future, she's saving money, and she wants to have a new kitchen. So she would like to have a posh new kitchen. She loves cooking, and she says it's going to be great. So in this case, you know not only what kind of person she is, but you know the projects she's done, you know the future projects, and you know exactly how to talk to her. Now let's imagine you're not the DIY company anymore, but you are a beauty brand. And the girl, Linda, she is also a customer here. But now, what kind of customer is she, and what kind of data do you need if you're a beauty brand? And look, on the left-hand side, you can see it. What kind of data are they storing? They want to know, what is her skin type? Light and dry. What is her hair type? Waves, middle size. How much time does she have for beauty treatments or looking into beauty? Not so much. Well, let's say middle thing. And she is spending quite a lot of budget for beauty. And then they want to know which kind of products she uses, which kind of brands she likes, and which kind of routines, etc., etc. There's a lot of data points which beauty companies like to collect and really need to use. She says she doesn't use much makeup because she doesn't know what suits her, but she is very much into skincare, and she says that a good routine, which provides her skin with optimal care and sun protection, is very important for her. So you see exactly what the beauty company is going to do with Linda. Now let's say that Linda is over at the travel agent. The travel agent will not work very much with her skin type, will not be interested. What they want to know is what kind of, first of all, whether she loves traveling, yes or no. What kind of experience does she like? She likes adventure, nature, food, culture, people. The budget she has, unfortunately, is lowish or low, but she has also a bucket list. So she has been to Thailand, and the next things she would like to do are Bali, New York, and Tokyo. So she loves traveling alone and discovering new things, new places, new cultures, and people. And she has this nice bucket list full of exciting destinations. So you really see that the type of data is incredibly context dependent. If you are a bank, and Linda is also a customer of the bank, you are looking into other stuff. You are looking into, okay, how long has she been a customer? How affluent is she? What is her risk affinity? Is she credit worthy or not? Does she like to be consulted and receive consultation or not? Is she into insurance? Which kind of products does she already have or not have? And in this case, she says, okay, I've been dreaming for a big kitchen for a long time, and I would like to take out a loan for it. So of course, now you see the potential, right? The potential now is to offer her a loan. So you see the different kind of data you need also here. And lastly, you are, for example, an energy company. And an energy company will look especially into, okay, where does she live, right? Is she an owner or a tenant? And does she have a house or a condo? And this makes a huge difference for them. Because, for example, they say, okay, owners are very important for me. Yes, they are. But the really important owners are the ones who own also a roof, a cellar, and a garage, right? Because then you can talk about, you know, the heating and the solar and this and that, and the perhaps even electric car and recharging the car, etc. So she is a tenant. She with an old heating, almost 30 years. But for this, you would have to talk to the owner as an energy company. So for the moment, she doesn't have this great potential for the energy company, but it will change because she is still quite young in her life cycle. So I will show you now the first of two canvases which you could need to build up your own data strategy. So the first thing is, which is the origin of the data points I need. In the center, consider, you have to think really carefully, what do we need to know? I'm continuing on the example of the energy company because it is one of the difficult ones. People say, okay, it's difficult to imagine that. Okay, so the first thing they would like to know is something you can ask your customer to get. For example, contact data and permissions. That is super important because if you cannot contact the customer, you cannot work with the customer. Then you want to know, as we said before, are you owner or tenant? Which is the type of heating, which is the age of the heating. Okay, but then you can also, you don't need to ask the customer for everything. You can also purchase some data, which is easily available. So is it a house or a condo that's available? Is anything on the roof? I mean, if she has a house, okay, and she is the owner of the house, then she could be interesting. And then we go check, because you can do it via satellite. Is something on the roof? What is the roof type? You can look at the roof orientation and inclination and the roof measurements and whether there are trees around and shadow on the roof. You need all that for solar panels, right? This solar panels is just an example, just to show you that, okay, you can go really deep, right? And really target very precisely. But also you can analyze data, which is very important for you. Things like, okay, is she likely not to pay her bills? This is something, credit worthiness and also the likeliness to pay on time. This is something that should quite easily be analyzed. Does she have potential for us? What kind of consumption does she have? What is the load profile? You know, the households with big consumption, that's very interesting to get into the load profile and try to get them, for example, to make the washing machine go during the night, etc., etc. There is a lot you can do. And also, they're quite obsessed with, okay, how high is the probability to churn, especially if you know that, okay, the energy cost is at the moment is really changing a lot. And so if someone is price sensitive, then the probability to churn will be higher, etc., etc. So this is stuff you can analyze. And obviously you have also data which you can find for free, like weather data, weather prediction data, geolocation. That's pretty easy to get and to find. So the first step is always, okay, decide what you need to know, understand why you want to know it, and then see, where do I get my data points from? So this is the first canvas. The next one, we'll build it up together. It's about, okay, what do I want to do with my customer? So which is the type of customer experience I want to create? And this is super important. Work based on use cases. So in this case, we said there is a background for the problem, which is there are changing laws and regulations, which is, for example, they introduced a thing where it's quite complicated here in Europe. If your heating has turned 30 years old, you have to change it, but not all kinds of heating, and it's quite complicated. So there is really a growing uncertainty in the market because they don't understand the laws and the regulations, and they need clarity and guidance. So the energy company has decided, okay, let me offer something which really has an added value for my customers. I will offer a carefree energy package for house owners, and I will give them the regulatory updates which are relevant for them, like not send them the law book, but tell them what really is relevant for them. Timely notifications about what needs to be done. Energy efficiency grants, you know that the government offers sometimes some kind of subsidies, etc. I will give them the access to that and tell them if they are eligible or not eligible. Then guidance on new products. So if I have to change something, then what is the best solution for me? And then the connection with qualified contractors. So if you want to do that, then start thinking, what kind of data do I need to do this? So I need for example, the age of the heating, the house owner, the heating type, and then the laws, regulations. So then I will start building algorithms, which on one side you see the need of to calculate exactly the need of the customer, and on the other side to find the solution, right? The solution can be the contractor, the product, the law, etc., etc. So this you build up like this, and you always start by the customer experience, right? That will help you. So how do we get there? We use the second canvas, which is the CRM canvas. And as I was saying, you start by the customer experience. So which is the added value I want to offer? The second thing is, how do I measure that I have achieved my goal? This is the most important thing, because you need a business case, right? And you need to know I've been successful. Then you start thinking, okay, what kind of insight analysis do I need in order to create this experience? Where do I get the data from? And last, really last, I start thinking about, okay, what are the technical requirements and what are the skills of people, resources, etc. I need to do this. But the first thing you think about is, okay, what do I want to do with my customers, and how do I make sure I can measure this? So if we fill it in really fast, okay, we wanted to create the carefree package for the customers, and we measure it by seeing, for example, the acquisition cost for our solutions, which we are offering, are decreasing, because obviously we target the customers quite with very high certainty. Customer retention is higher because they are happier, so the CLV is better. In my sales team, the conversion rate is better, the share of wallet is higher, and the customer satisfaction is better. So I have a higher NPS score ideally, and also I am recommended word of mouth from one happy customer to another. So this is what you want to measure, and all this you can use also to create the business case. Sorry, other direction. Okay, and then what kind of insight do you need? You need the checkup dates of the heatings and the results of that, the regulatory impact analysis, and then statistical twins, for example, to create the optimal product recommendations. And okay, you need the kind of data we saw in the first canvas to create this kind of model. But as you see, it's much less complex than collecting loads of data and then thinking, okay, now what am I going to do with it? So it's the other way around. Okay, and we are often asked for the proof, right? And my pain point personally is that very often my own clients do not want us to share any of their figures, any of their successes, which is understandable. Sometimes I get lucky and they, for some reasons, they publish them. And this was one really lucky part. It's a perfumery chain. So what did we do? This is just an example of 1 year, 17 to 18. So we increased the numbers of loyalty members to 39 million, which is great because then you know who buys what. And then you have data which is really meaningful. And you see it in the second diagram. You see that the revenue share of the beauty card holders, so in the loyalty program, is 2/3, which is very high. And the result is that contacted members, so the ones we could write to and say, hey, there is the summer lipstick of your favorite brand, you should buy it, or you should repurchase your shampoo, it should be empty by now, etc., etc. So the ones we could contact, they spent 20% more. So that's really cool. That was a lot of money. So you see, first step is use the data yourself, right? Before you go into collaboration, which is the third step, use the data. It's so important. Okay, how do you get to this actionable insights? We said this already. Ask your customers, analyze the data. And then the third point is, once you really know a lot about your customers, you can start collaborating with others. Okay, and collaboration is really, I think it's almost a green slate. There is not so much yet, but it will come big time. Okay. Please start thinking if you have questions, and start also writing them in the chat. That would really help at the end. But I continue because I don't want to be too late. So, okay. So when we want to collaborate with other companies based on data, we can do a lot of different types of collaboration models. The first one is quite an easy one. We want to recommend each other to each other's customers. Works very well. I will show an example. Another one is we have a platform where we share our insights in a way that is aggregated, so we have no problem with the law. So that's also very valuable. I will show it. Then thirdly, you can have output from inside ecosystems created, for example, on the basis of data clean rooms. That can help a lot. Or even you can create loyalty program partnerships. So it is really a continuous and very visible collaboration. So it is a strategic alliance. And these collaboration models, they can really become cross-sector. The most important thing is that they are really customer-centric. So it's really about being relevant for your customer. So I will show you the first example. You probably know the company Hapag-Lloyd Cruises, and of course, you know Citibank, and think about them. What do they have in common? And would you have thought about data or insights, somehow collaboration between the two? Honestly, I wouldn't. Unfortunately, it was not my idea, although I implemented it. And so I was very, very proud of the result. What they have in common is they have a target group of really affluent, a little bit elderly West Asia customers who love their finances and love to travel. So what did we do? Citigroup was offering cruise packages to their customers, to their very affluent and a little bit older customers, and offering them a special deal with a gala dinner with captain, etc. And we had a target. If we were managing so and so many bookings, then we were allowed to send the wealth manager together with the people in the cruise. And obviously for the wealth manager, it was great. And if we were managing even more bookings, we were allowed to have a little office for the wealth manager. And you can imagine what this kind of target group likes to do in the evening after dinner. They will go out and talk about their money, their finances, and do some trading. So this was a highly, highly successful collaboration for both sides. This is just an example. Another example is an insights ecosystem. So in this case, you have a brand from Intersnack, which is Chio. I'm sure you know those chips, Chio chips, red paprika. All of a sudden, they noticed that 5,000 customers have stopped buying the Chio chip red paprika, and they're wondering what happened, where did they go? And the supermarket in the center is saying, of course, I know what happened. And so they are able to look not only, okay, that people have stopped buying, but also if they have bought something else instead, right? They know how often people are supposed to repurchase chips, depending on the person. There are differences, but there is a certain rhythm. And then they see that, many of the shoppers have gone into the private label. And so there is a collaboration between the Chio, so Intersnack, and the supermarket. And they look, okay, who was it exactly who didn't buy anymore? And we see again our segment we saw before, the fast and furious guys. So what happened was that the private labels have been promoted both in store and in the app, and the private label was placed next to popular convenience products. And so they tended to buy that more. And so, of course, the win-back campaign was targeted to the Fast and Furious, and they made a collaboration with a frozen pizza brand, and it was highly successful. So this kind of collaborations, so the brand loves it, the supermarket loves it, it works really well. And it's all based on data and on insights. Another one is the insights ecosystem. So you have a CPG company. So you imagine someone who produces detergents for laundry, for example, and a supermarket. So the ones who produce the CPG, the detergents, they are spending millions on paid media. They want their brands and their product to become more relevant, and they want them to purchase more. But the problem is that the products are always purchased as a supermarket. So they do not know whether the millions are well spent or not. So they don't know how effective the campaigns are, and they do not learn anything from the campaigns. So they cannot improve in the future, and they don't have any qualitative feedback to give back into their organization, to marketing, product, etc. And the supermarket instead, they are relying heavily on untargeted discounts on products to increase sales. So you know these spray paint discounts, which are incredibly expensive for them. They are also, in this case, unhappy with the performance on non-food in general and home care in particular. So they were super unhappy with that. But they could not invest in this category because their focus is on perishable goods, which you can really understand. On the other hand, they have a really good grasp of their customers' behavior because they have a wide adoption of the loyalty scheme, and they have also very rich data. So they are able to target shoppers individually based on their behavior. So, okay, it was like a match made in heaven, no? To bring together these two, make them put their data in a data clean room all together, find matching data, recognize behaviors. And then what do? You find targets who are buying these products or who are really have a high affinity to these products. And then you find statistical twins who are not customers of the supermarket and are not, or are customers of the supermarket and are not buying this brand. And so you target these very affine target groups, and the result is an increase in sales for the CPG company, which is great. Display of more relevant content for the customers, but the really big one was that they managed to reduce media costs. So they were managed to reduce the media cost by 20%, and they learned. Right, so they got back from the supermarket. They got back some insights, so they are becoming more smarter with their targeting for the next times. And the supermarket had an increase in non-food sales, so they were super happy with that. So they gave relevant discounts to the customers and stopped a bit the spray paint, so it was reduced. They had less cost of discount. They had new customers, and obviously they learned as well. So they also had more insights. So this was a super good one as well. Now we are enhancing it with a telco and with a media house, right? Why? Just really fast, because the telco has the permissions to know where the geolocation of people is, so where they are, and the media house has loads of channels, and so you will be able to target people in the moment where it is relevant to them and they are next to the place where they can buy the product. So that will become even better. We have not finished yet, but we're working on this right now. Okay, now, last but not least, so we have CVS. I'm sure you know them, right? They are massive in the US. Half of the US shoppers buy there. They have incredible customer insights. They have 23 shopping trips per customer and per year in there, huge annual spend, and they collect all the data. So the really impressive part on this is that they managed to really create an ecosystem of data and insights really around clinical information, which is very rare, right? But they have permissions from the customer, so, and from the patient, so, and they managed to really, with this, based on this insight they have, which is incredibly detailed, they managed to create a whole ecosystem, which is completely new, and they managed with this to increase the consumer lifetime value by 3 to 4 times. And how do they do it? They set up, so they started with a pharmacy, and then they went on into insurance, so health and life insurance, and they have 39 million members in the US in this insurance. And then they created this health spire. This health spire, it gives you convenient access to retail and mail service delivery options for to find the prescriptions you need. And if you can imagine, it's crazy. They have a nationwide network of more than 68,000 participating pharmacies. So it's not only CVS, it's the whole market, and they can see everything. They can see what you buy, and they really seamlessly use it. So then they created the Minute Clinic, where it's a walk-in clinic where you have 40% less the cost of urgent care. So people go to the Minute Clinic, and then they started co-manufacturing and commercializing high-value biosimilar products for the US pharmaceutical market. So they are also into product creation and selling. So it's becoming huge, right? And it's all based on insight. So, and the very last example is Marriott Bonvoy. I'm sure you know it very well because you are customers here. So they have the collaboration with American Express, where they have co-branding cards and they share data. They have the exchange of membership rewards with more than 40 airlines, right, in both directions. So they also see who goes where and plans which kind of trip. And then for the people who do not travel that often, it's highly attractive to be able to collect Bonvoy points at Uber and to redeem Bonvoy points at Starbucks. So if you imagine that by now, Bonvoy has 210 million members, it's really huge. Okay, so to finish, I hope I convinced you. Data is not the new oil, but it is powerful. And it is an enabler for value creation, right? It's not value itself. It is an obsession with your customers for sure. Learn to generate actionable insights for your business. Make full use of this potential. Data is growth using collaboration. So master data ownership and access models for the collaboration and strive for cross-sector customer-centric integrated value proposition through strategic alliances. This is my recommendation for you, and have lots of fun playing around with data. It's a great thing. Thank you so much. And you find me on LinkedIn. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. Actually, a wonderful session. There's many questions already in the chat. Really is really enlightening because when you look at data, and I'm an MIT graduate, I'm a fan of technology and data mining and these things. But in the end, when you focus only on how to gather that information and the engines that you can use in one way or another, in the end, you are focusing more in the tools that actually in what you want that for, right? And your session is being specifically and particularly interesting from this perspective. There are many questions in the chat. There's one question which starts by, data is the new oil. Well, we learned it's not exactly the new oil, but the question is, artificial intelligence is the new engine to use that oil?
Okay. Honestly, AI helps, yes, but sometimes AI becomes a problem. I have so many clients who use AI and then they do not manage to work with the results they get. I had a client yesterday evening who said, the segments I got for targeting, they are so granular, I cannot manage them. So, and the stores do not understand them, and the marketing team does not understand them. It's far too granular. And I said, yes, how did you create the segmentation? I said, you didn't do factor analysis, did you? And said, I don't know, it was AI. Right, because AI obviously is trying to look for the perfect solution. And it feels sometimes like, you just got your driving license today, and tomorrow your father gives you Ferrari Testarossa and tells you bye-bye. And you didn't even think, do I even have a road where I can drive with Ferrari Testarossa, or do I have a time limit 60, So that's why AI, yes, but you need to have also a lot of understanding of your business and understanding of your customers and understanding of your data before you can use AI properly.
Thank you very much. I can tell your Italian origins by Cecilia, the way you pronounce your name, and also how you pronounce Ferrari and Testarossa. Only a true Italian can do it. Thank you. There's another question. The last question was from Edwin Garcia. There's a question here from Juan Carvajal. What he asks is it's very difficult. Well, he says that you have truly very updated information about your customers, like updated every minute somehow. And he wonders if you have any insights on how to integrate data analysis into decision making while avoiding the pitfalls of outdated information.
Okay, depending on who you are, you know more or less how up to date does your information need to be. Okay, if you are working with data with machines, which, for example, I don't know, drill or manage a factory, then of course it needs to be immediate, real time, always on, right? If you are using it to create marketing campaigns, you know, the data from yesterday will be perfectly fine. You know? So it depends very much on what we want to do with it. Who are you? You know, sometimes it does make sense to try to do near real time. So, for example, someone is in the area. For example, if you manage to use geolocation and then you send out the offer per push notification, that's quite good. Or, for example, in the cases where we use the data to chat with the customer real time, that's good. But most of the use cases we have, which are highly successful, is, for example, look, your shampoo is going to be empty, you need to repurchase it. I mean, you make millions with that because people really forget or they go somewhere else or something like this. And for this, you don't need to have it's a calculation. You know that this lady needs it every 8 weeks, and then you send out the offer and that's it. You know, it's not, so it depends so much on who you are.
Thank you, Cecilia.
But then, for example, sorry, let me say something. For example, you know, then came COVID, and we're still struggling to clean up, you know, because COVID changed everything in the behavior. Yeah. People's behavior during COVID was obviously completely different. And so there is a before COVID and after COVID, etc. So of course you can use historic data, but you have, of course, you have this kind of issue, and then you and that's why AI helps. But you also having a sanity check with your brain, it also helps.
Indeed. Thank you very much. There's 2 questions here that are kind of connected. One is from Maria Acosta. She asked, for smaller companies with limited resources, what is the most effective way to use data? And this is connected with another question from Boris Perez, who asks if there is any tool for free in the market in order to gather data and do like an assessment of information.
So yes, there are a lot of tools now, depending on the size of what you need to do or the size of the use case. There are a lot of tools and capabilities which you can use for free or almost for free by now. Again, the difficulty, it's like, you know, you are all good in statistics, no? The difficulty is not to use the formula, it's to understand which one is the right one for the problem you're tackling, right? And that's the same thing with the tools. You have tools, you have everything. The point is to understand which is the right one and exactly what is the use case and where's the added value, right? So this is the point.
Fantastic. There's a question here from Alba Hernandez. She asks, when a company has multiple databases, but they are not truly organized. Sorry, I'm translating from Spanish, so I go a bit slower. And so those databases are not truly organized or connected. What is the best methodology to organize those data in a way that can generate value? Okay,
so the IT guy will say, okay, now we have a big construction site, and now we go and we will do a big working for 3 years, and then you come back and then it's possible. And I say, look, first thing, you pull data manually, almost manually from different data sources. You merge it, you clean it, you analyze it, you create a data set you can work on, you test your first use cases, you see if you have a business case, you see if you can earn money with it, and then you decide if you want to start on the construction site. You know, the easiest at the beginning, you need to be pragmatic. So you need to say, okay, which are the places where the data is stored? Do I really need them from there? Or can I get the data from somewhere else? Which are the data points I really need? How do I extract it? And then at the beginning, I go and I work with samples. And I extract a sample, and then I see how do I put it together. And, you know, a good data engineer can do this. And they don't like it because everybody wants to be, you know, data scientist who works on a very clean and perfect data set. But, and this is almost tragic, that unfortunately, what happened is not what we predicted. What happened is that with AI, the fun part gets done by AI very easily. And the part which is no fun at all, which is all the cleanup part, etc., it's very difficult to do it automatically. It's still quite manual and quite a struggle. So I'm very sad for my statisticians I have here, because they are sometimes doing a lot of the dirty work, and then the funky algorithm gets done automatically, which is a pity.
The algorithm. Thank you, Cecilia. There's another question here from Alejandro. Alejandro says, we are a retail and manufacturer company. Should our strategy be centered only in consumers, or is it convenient to define multiple data strategies depending on the context and process of the company? Like, for example, a data strategy for employees, another one for consumers, another one for products, manufacturers, so on.
Yes, the second one. So what you do is you do the second one, and then you put them all together and you prioritize, because you will not be able to tackle everything at the same time. Some things you can parallelize, other things you cannot parallelize, right? Amazon didn't manage to parallelize, for example. What happened to me was for years, I got super angry about their recommendations. And one day I was so angry, I wrote to Jeff Bezos. And then I at one point, I really got Seattle on the phone, obviously not Jeff Bezos, but the guy who was responsible for the algorithm, the recommendation engines. And he told me, look, the truth is that we are concentrating on logistics. We are not looking at the recommendations at all. We have no resource for that. We need to get the logistics right. Otherwise, this company will not earn money. And that was so true. So I was like, of course, I could have thought about that. So
I love it. Well, look, there's a question here from Nawel, which goes straight to the heart of the core of your presentation, which is, what is the key to get fidelity and loyalty from your customers and clients?
Okay, understand them, understand their expectations, and then you need to react accordingly. So if they tell you their expectation and you ignore it, then you made a bigger disaster than you had in the first place. So as I was saying, understand, and then you have to change your behavior according to, okay, what type of customer do we have? That works incredibly well, because they feel understood. You know, if you think about the old shops where the owner knew you, right? And you got greeted, you know, greeted with your name, offered the chocolates you like or whatever you like, or if she even knew you like to chat or you don't like to chat or this kind of thing. And they were able to remember that and to act accordingly. This is what we try to create for companies who have millions of customers. And we see that when we manage to create this, it fosters loyalty in an incredible way, and also sales, of course.
Wonderful, Cecilia. We want to be accurate with the time and also with your generosity with us. So maybe one last question, and we close the session. Is that okay?
It's perfect. If you have more questions, just send them via LinkedIn and I will answer. No problem.
Fantastic. So yeah, there's many more questions than the ones that I can ask you here now. There's one here, which is if you can, but there's many related to this. So if you have specific recommendations about free tools. Also, there's one here about security and privacy. How to protect the data, the very sensible and important information from customers, and also regarding regulations on privacy about this.
Okay, there are two things. The first thing is regulations, etc. When the customer or the person allows, it's good. You need to make sure that it's always allowed. So you need these opt-ins, you need these permissions. This is the first thing. And the second thing concerning security is the names and the addresses and the IDs. That's the really, really, really dangerous stuff. So we kick that out. We create some keys, no, in order to anonymize. We try to work with aggregated data as much as possible because it is incredibly dangerous. And in Europe, you can't imagine how dangerous this has become, because now the GDPR is really, for a couple of years, it hasn't been really enforced. And now they are brutal. They are brutal. So we have to be incredibly careful, and that's what we do. So you make sure that even if you have a loss of data, it is impossible to get through to the one person it comes from or belongs to. And then if it is always in sort of kind of aggregation, you are out of the big trouble, let's say. Yeah.
Fantastic, Cecilia. Thank you very much. There's many greetings here for you in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I learned a lot. There's data is power, data is value. Thank you. Congratulations, Inmes. Thank you, gracias. So, Cecilia, thank you very much for the time and your insights.
Have a great evening.
And as said, if you have any more questions, you can reach out to Cecilia. And once more, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Rafa. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.